This is a Sandy Boy Productions podcast.
Welcome to the Urban Pharmacy Podcast, where we help women remove the overwhelm of living their most holistic life. This is the place to find evidence-based nutrition tactics, healthy lifestyle and wellness tips, abundance mindset, and easily implementable low-tox living strategies so you can rise up to your full potential and protect your family's health. I'm your host, Stacey Heine, certified holistic nutritionist and better living advocate. Now, let's get empowered with some simple swaps that make a big impact for optimal wellness.
It's episode 75 of the Urban Pharmacy Podcast. Welcome back. I hope you are having the best day ever. In the last week, I have suffered from bronchitis and thankfully used beautiful plants and herbs to get better. I'm finally on the mend, and it is my son's birthday today. So he turns 5, and it has been quite an eventful week. I also made my very favorite dessert called the only cupcake recipe that you will ever need. You can head on over to my blog for that. It is an epic chocolate cupcake with delicious icing. It is all made out of 100% whole plant foods and no added sugar, oil, or salt. That, my friend, is the way that I roll. And it tastes so delicious. Speaking of food, I have my friend Annette on today. She is a specialist in thyroid health. Her name is Annette Gettinger, and she is a registered dietitian nutritionist. Her specialty is working with women who have thyroid disease and gut issues. She provides diet and lifestyle techniques to help women lose weight and eliminate their thyroid symptoms so that they can improve their quality of life. Annette became a dietitian after caring for her mother when she was diagnosed with her first autoimmune condition, celiac disease. She realized the autoimmune conditions plagued her family, and she didn't want that for herself and sought after nutritional answers. It wasn't until Annette found out that she had Hashimoto's thyroiditis in 2017 when she hit the research even harder. She was scared to lose control of her quality of life and to rely on medication for the rest of her life. Since discovering the right diet and lifestyle for thyroid disease and other autoimmune conditions, she is now on a mission to help and serve as many women as possible. Doctors aren't giving dietary solutions, only medication. It just isn't enough, and it doesn't address the root cause. When Annette isn't working, she is busy chasing her 3 kids around and hanging out with her husband on rare date nights. You can find her on Instagram at the Thyroid Gut RD. I really think that you're going to love this episode. I personally struggle with acute inflammation of my thyroid, so you could say I have thyroiditis. I have hypothyroidism, and I was diagnosed in 2017. Actually, I'm so sorry. I was diagnosed before that. That was when my son was born. And so a few years before that, I was diagnosed with thyroiditis. And let me tell you, it's not fun having thyroid issues. And I have definitely helped myself nutritionally. I have used herbs to help me. There are different measures that I've taken. However, being on medication is something that I don't like to do. And I do believe 100% that I will be able to fully heal myself someday through diet and lifestyle. And that is exactly what Annette is out to help people do. And I think that you are going to absolutely love this entire episode. She's just such a wealth of knowledge. She's actually also so funny on Instagram, so you have to make sure that you're following her. Annette is just a joy, and I love her so dearly. So let me know what you think about this episode. Make sure that if you love it, you definitely give us a 5-star review. You share it on social media. and we appreciate your support as always. All right, here is Annette. Annette Gettinger, welcome to the Urban Pharmacy Podcast, my friend.
Awesome. I'm excited to be here.
So thrilled to have you. Let's talk about how you and I connected.
Yes, let's talk about that.
Thanks to social media. We, both Annette and I, are students, if you will, of Virginia Kerr.
Yeah.
And she is a video teacher. She teaches how to do video. She teaches how to create good video on social media. And I have not applied any of it yet. But I still have time, so it's okay. But that is how Annette and I connected. I saw her posting one day in the Facebook group for This Is Video School about thyroid and food, and her Instagram handle embodies both of those things. And I was like, wait a minute, I've got thyroid issues and I'm a nutritionist and I'm totally into the food. Who is this woman? So I started following you, Annette, and love all of the information that you put out there to the world, because this is very much needed.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell me a little bit, Annette, about how you got into nutrition. Where did this stem from? And then we'll kind of dig into how it all unfolded into the thyroid in particular.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, okay. So I have been a dietitian now for like 6 years, right? And in the middle of that, somewhere along that journey, after I had my second son, I just like got really depressed and like didn't know what was going on with myself. Like I thought it was like postpartum, like it had already been like 9 months or 10 months. You would think like I would have connected the dots. And so, and I was like really irritable. I would say that I was like a bad wife and a bad mom, just because I was like just taking out all my frustrations on my family and then just not feeling good and having all these like gut issues, along with like extreme fatigue and irritability. And so it wasn't until luckily, like I was already seeing a functional medicine practitioner, like thankfully, right? Because, I know now that it can take women who see conventional medicine practitioners, like at least 5 different doctors to get a diagnosis. But luckily, because I went to a functional medicine practitioner, he was like, hey, like, how are you feeling? I'm like, oh, I feel awful. And because he was like, yeah, your like vitamin D is low, your TSH is all off, and you have like thyroid antibodies. And so he was just like, you probably feel like you're a hot mess. And I'm like, I do. And so then he told me like, yeah, you have Hashimoto's. And so I was like, but it really scared me too, though, because I come from a family where like we've just been plagued with autoimmune diseases, and my mom has hypothyroidism as well, and she has Sjogren's, colitis, celiac, like she has all these things. And as a dietitian, you like take pride in that, knowing that like, oh, I'm healthy, and thinking that you know the right things. And so I just was like, oh no, I don't want to go down that path. And so I really quickly started to try to figure out, like, I don't want to take medication. I mean, I didn't think it was bad. I just didn't want to get into this like lifestyle of having to depend on medication, like if there was going to be more medication down the line, right?
Yeah.
So then I really started to dive deep into that. And luckily that functional medicine practitioner, he guided me. He told me about the autoimmune protocol. And then I went down that whole rabbit hole. But, and I did feel good initially, right? Like I did, like their protocol is like you eliminate everything, right? Like all the legumes, the nightshades, it's really heavy in animal protein. And so I initially felt good, I think, because the inflammation was down, right? Because I eliminated all the inflammatory foods. But then
and like sugar, right? I mean, and gluten, like,
oh yeah,
gluten's absolutely out. Sugar,
yeah, gluten, sugar, like all grains, like and you can't even eat potatoes, right? No added sugar. So fruit is off. They only recommend 1 to 2 servings of fruit a day. And so it was really to the extreme, like I mean, and pretty restrictive. Like it was really hard for me to do 30 days. Like for some people, they're like, I'm going to do it. And they're really disciplined and they're good at it. I was not that. I was like 95%, but it's still like I felt better. I was like, whoa, this is what feeling good feels like, right? Like I didn't have the brain fog anymore. Most I want to say of my gut issues cleared up, but I still was dealing with like a lot of bloating and then like, but I'm a dietitian, so I'm gonna just talk about poop, but like constipation, right? Like that was, I started getting a lot of that. And I wasn't really losing weight anymore. I was like gaining weight. And so I was like, what the hell? Like, what's going on now?
Yeah.
So then anyway, it took me down this journey of like, okay, I got it. Like, I feel like this isn't the right protocol for me anymore. And so then I started reading about, I don't know how I came across it, but I came across reading about Epstein-Barr virus and how it correlates to how it can trigger autoimmune conditions and Hashimoto's and thyroid and how it acts on the thyroid. So it made sense to me because I read text after text about autoimmune diseases and how your body's attacking itself. And so when I read about Epstein-Barr virus and how like your body's not really attacking itself, it's attacking the virus, right? So if the virus is attacking your thyroid, then your body is trying to attack it. And so that's why your body's attacking the thyroid. So I was like, that makes sense. Like your body is really smart and it's designed to protect you and to nourish you. And you know what I mean? It's a smart mechanism. Like, why would all of a sudden it be like, let's attack you or let's damage this organ or this piece of tissue or your joints or whatever, right?
Right.
So then I just started applying a more like holistic approach to the Epstein-Barr from reading different, listening to different doctors. And so, it was just avoiding the three inflammatory foods, the ones that are most common and that feed the Epstein-Barr virus, which is gluten, dairy, and eggs. And then and then it was like eating lots of fruits, a carbohydrate rich diet, which is very counterintuitive to what a lot of the mainstream, diets, trends, fads, whatever you want, are out there, right?
Yeah.
So it was like, what? Like potatoes, are they going to make me gain weight?
No, they won't.
And then but it was amazing because once I switched gears and started doing, having fruits for breakfast, like a ton of fruits, and eating more carbohydrate rich plant-based foods, I just felt better. I didn't feel restricted like I did on AIP, right? That was like really hard for me. Like it took discipline. This didn't take discipline. This was like, I feel nourished. I feel good. I have energy. And it felt great. And then I honestly, like all my gut issues, like they pretty much cleared up, especially when I started juicing. Like I love drinking green juices, like celery juice, but even like celery, cucumber, lemon, and ginger. Like that's when a lot of my gut issues just completely went away. And I had like normal bowel movements, like going 2 to 3 times a day. And I was like, whoa. So that's that was my journey of how I kind of got started. And so I wanted to help women, right? Because I feel like a lot of us just have a lot of misinformation out there. If I was not a dietitian, I would be confused, like one thing contradicts the other.
Yeah, absolutely. And so for your clients, patients, are you, do they come to you asking about the AIP protocol?
Sometimes they come to me mostly from like a ketogenic or paleo. Like I feel like some of them have come for me from AIP, but I will say the ones who did the AIP, they're doing good, right? Because AIP does work. It does. But I feel like for those that are still left with these lingering gut issues, I attribute that because it's the animal protein that's like really disturbing that gut microbiome or like their gut issues. So it's like, okay, you have to switch gears and you can't, AIP to me is not sustainable. You can't apply that for the rest of your life. So the ones that come with me at AIP, they're like, I've been on this and it's like they're at a plateau now. They've like stalled out.
Yeah. So how do you help those people in particular who have been on AIP? Like, are you helping them transition with like low FODMAPs? Like, are you doing a 3-week
transition to these whole carbohydrate foods and incorporating the nightshades again, and then you go into grains and then maybe to legumes? Like, how does that look like, or is it just individualized for each person?
Yeah, it's totally individualized for each person, right? I wish there was a blanket approach. It would definitely make my job a lot easier, but it's not. But we do start with integrating all the grains back in, like not gluten, of course, right? But the grains that are gluten free, which of course is all like the rice, the brown rice, and people are just happy to even do that. And then integrating definitely fruits back into it. All the nightshades are back, or they're all game. And so we start there, and they all say like, oh my God, like this is easier than I thought. And like don't feel restricted. And they don't get those cravings like they once used to. So it's just almost like immediately, and they start to like the first 1 to 2 weeks, they're like, I'm feeling like I'm having more energy, and their bloating dissipates. We do start to cut out animal protein like very right away. Like we reduce it from from breakfast. Like breakfast is no animal protein. Like I would tell them we're going to reduce it. So first we'll start with breakfast, and then we'll move to lunch and dinner, right? Because you can't transform somebody's diet in like in one whole day. It's just too overwhelming, right? It's like it's too much. Like we just take it meal by meal. So then I tell them like for lunch and dinner, like all I want you to do is I want you to pick like either you're going to have animal protein at lunch or you're going to have it at dinner, like, but it's not going to be both. So let's just cut it down. Unless they're willing to just be like, I'll give it up, then fine. But for somebody who comes from like a meat eating culture or family, or just that's what they were doing, it's kind of hard to just go cold turkey. So I just tell them to reduce it so they can feel that difference.
Yeah. So explain to us, Annette, why we would want to consider the reduction of animal protein and the impact that it's having on the gut microbiome for people with thyroid and people even without thyroid issues.
Yeah, that's a good question. So, or a good explanation, right? So, people with thyroid disease, especially like Hashimoto's, it's, animal protein isn't bad. It's not inflammatory. But if you have gut issues, right, like you're having constipation, the bloating, and all that, then it really does. It's high in fat, and so you're having with thyroid issues. It's a thyroid and liver issue, and people really don't see that connection, or they don't hear about it, right? Like your liver is already sick and sluggish if you're dealing with bloating and constipation, and so you want to help the liver out by reducing the amount of fats in your diet. And fats add up so quickly, and honestly our livers are not designed to consume or have a high fat diet. And in American culture, I can't say about other cultures like abroad or whatnot. I just know like here in the States that the average American consumes about 30%, 30 to 35% of their calories from fat, when really your liver is designed to really just consume, to handle like 10 to 15%. Yeah, 10. Yeah, okay, 10% of calories from fat. So, and the majority of your calories do come from animal protein. Like even a small, I don't care how lean your chicken breast is, right? Like there's still fat in there. And I get this argument, and I get a lot of trolls, to be honest with you, on Instagram when I do talk about this, because people are just like, protein is so good for you, and chicken doesn't have any fat in it. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, just because you can't see it because of the marbling, because marbling of fat is white, right? And chicken is white, so you can't see it. It has fat. And I don't care, like I said, which way you slice it, it still has a lot of fat in it. Mm-hmm. So maybe if you want to eat 1 to 3 ounces of it in like your salad, because you like the texture, you like the full fattiness that it brings the flavor of your salad or whatever it is that you're eating, right? I get it. That's what fats do. They're just, they coat your palate or your mouth, and that's why they're so good. But it's like, okay, if you really want to try to help your liver and you want to really lose weight, because you've been struggling this whole time, especially with thyroid disease, right? It's hard for women who have a thyroid condition to lose weight. That's like the number one complaint I hear all the time. And it's like, okay, we're going to take this approach, but it's because the liver is having trouble with the high fat diet that you're consuming. So, and then also for gut microbiome diversity, it's just like if you're feeding yourself too much animal protein, you're not, more than likely you're not getting enough fiber from plants, right? And your gut microbiome loves fiber. Like that's how they proliferate, is just from the fiber content from, and if you want a good diverse gut microbiome, then we need to have a diverse amount of plant foods, right? Fruits, vegetables, all of them, right? And I don't think that we as Americans, we we don't really pay attention to or getting enough vegetables a day or fruits. I mean, people are like, oh, I have like one or two pieces. Really, you should be having like 5 or 6, yeah. And so it's just about an abundance of that, right? So like, let's cut out the animal protein. Like, let's not worry about filling up on that. Let's try to fill up on like, these about grains, like whole grains, and which offer like a lot of fiber itself for your gut microbiome, and a diversity of plant-based foods from vegetables and fruits, because that's also going to create diversity in your gut microbiome. And then for the person that doesn't have a thyroid condition, the same thing applies, right? If you are trying to lose weight and you can't, but you don't have a thyroid issue, try going plant-based, reducing them. It doesn't mean you have to cut out animal protein completely. You can just reduce it, but really start incorporating more plant-based foods, because you'll lose weight. You're like, again, it's just your liver is having trouble processing these high fat foods, and eventually it's going to catch up like later down the line. So it could develop into non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It could, high cholesterol levels. It'll take you down a more chronic disease path if it continues.
Yes. So do you treat people differently who have thyroiditis, like acute thyroiditis or non-Hashimoto's hypothyroidism versus Hashimoto's?
So I do. So with Hashimoto's, we do take on more of like a anti-inflammatory approach, and the whole, low, high carbohydrate, low fat, right? I feel like when we say low fat, people are like, they're taking back to like the 90s.
Yeah, no, like when you say that, literally what comes into my mind is low fat yogurt. Is that not so funny? Like,
yeah, exactly.
The fat-free yogurt that I used to pound because I thought, like I couldn't have any fat. Like, I don't even know, whatever. Just the fat-free everything.
Yeah. Yes, you're right. That whole fat-free craze, right?
Oh, Lord.
You have to try to like term it differently or something. But so with Hashimoto's, we definitely take a more anti-inflammatory approach, right? Because we have to bring down inflammation. Like there's a lot more going on with the immune system, of course, the gut, brain fog, like systemically a lot more going on. So we have to really treat that. And supplements are like, I'm big on supplements for bringing down inflammation. It just accelerates the process, and it helps, and they feel better immediately. And then people who just have like, let's say, hypothyroidism, we just take on more, some of the inflammation, but they're not, unless they're telling me like, oh yeah, I feel these symptoms, which are to me, which I'm interpreting it as like, okay, that's inflammatory, then I will take on an anti-inflammatory approach. But most of them don't. They're just like, I have hypothyroidism and I can't lose weight. So then we just take on this more, okay, we're going to focus on more carbohydrates and plant-based proteins. And then we're going to kind of get our fats from, or guess like fatty acids from plants, and some from animal protein, but we're just going to reduce that amount, and we're going to focus on, fish and some chicken, but kind of stay away from like the higher fat animal proteins like beef and pork, especially pork. Pork is extremely high in fat.
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So speaking of supplements, Annette, what do you find that's so beneficial for people? Like, what are your kind of, you got to start taking these now, supplements that you recommend to people?
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So if you are dealing with inflammation, Hashimoto's, or Graves' disease, I get both. Like this is for both. And then also I do want to say this because I get this question asked all the time, like in my DMs. It's like, I don't have a thyroid. I had a thyroidectomy. It still applies to you. Like they didn't, just because they removed your thyroid, that wasn't the root cause. Like they still, you know what I mean? The underlying issues are still at hand. So it's just going to migrate somewhere else now.
Right.
So my favorite product or two products I want to say for everyone to get on if you are dealing with inflammation or Hashimoto's is L-lysine. It's an essential amino acid, and it is, and my favorite brand to get it is at Vimergy. That's like Vimergy.
Wow.
And L-lysine just, it really does act to bring down inflammation. It also helps if you did have the Epstein-Barr virus, like if you were diagnosed with mononucleosis in your early teens, because we don't mostly get it as, young adults or even children for that matter. Then L-lysine acts to really, to slow them down so your immune system can attack them. Because your immune system, it's the thing about viruses, they're so quick. Your immune system is not fast enough to stop them from replicating so quickly. So L-lysine like really slows them down so your immune system can do its job and attack it. And then also, so L-lysine, and then there's magnesium glycinate. I feel like even non-thyroid people, like just anxiety has plagued our world. And I really attribute anxiety to the food industry because of all the additives and just things they're putting into our food that is causing, that has effects on our central nervous system. So magnesium glycinate really helps to calm the central nervous system. And especially if you feel anxious, also, if you're dealing with nerve pain, muscle pain, even if you're constipated, it really acts to kind of calm that down. And that's why last night when you saw my reel, I was also on my stories, I was like, I'm going to take an Epsom salt bath. That's magnesium, right? Because it really does, when you take a bath in Epsom salt or magnesium, you feel so tired and relaxed and good. Even then your body's absorbing some of that magnesium.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've been working on a blog post for a few months now about the different varieties of magnesium, because magnesium has been life-changing for me. Epsom salts baths have been, and so it's just like, I'm trying to figure out the best one to recommend. So you recommend glycinate. Okay. Got it. I like citrate at this moment in time in terms of consumption, but, it's just very fascinating. And what is it? It's over, oh man, I wish I could throw out the correct stat right now, but it's kind of like up there with the vitamin D levels. Like we are very at large as a population are very, very low in magnesium.
Yes. And that is critical for the immune system too. And that's what people don't realize as well. So yeah, we should all be taking supplement with magnesium and zinc as well. I don't know. Are you a fan of zinc?
Yeah, I think in high doses, it can potentially pull out like copper and pull out other minerals that we need. So I go back and forth with it, but I have it.
Okay.
I have bottles of zinc.
Yeah. Now, same here, especially though if you're sick, I think zinc is just one of those good to have as an ally.
Yeah. I think a lot of us are deficient in that as well, just from what I've heard. And what I've read. Hey, I hope you're enjoying the episode so far. I don't know if you know, but I just got back from Capitol Hill just a few months ago, advocating for better personal care product laws. Hopefully by now you know that I am affiliated with a B corporation called Beauty Counter that puts equal emphasis on people, product, and planet. And their mission is to get safer products into the hands of everyone. And that is very important because there's very little to virtually no regulation in terms of personal care product safety and laws surrounding our toxic load when it comes to beauty products. So I had the fortune to be able to go there and speak with congressmen and congresswomen to help move this industry to a safer place. And I want to invite you to do this alongside of me. This work is super important, not only for the advocacy, but also to empower women and men and families to make safer choices. And regardless if you have tried Beauty Counter or not, I highly suggest that you get on a call with me or text me at 317-520-2320 to chat about what this income and this impact can mean for your life. Now, before we get back to the episode, I want to be sure that you know that switching to safer personal care does not mean that your beauty products have to suck. It means that you can actually find really high performing makeup and skincare that actually gives you results, but is also better for the planet and of course for our health. And that is exactly what Beautycounter is doing. So if you are in the market to switch over to safer personal care and you have not done that yet, or if you have been looking into or are already in love with clean beauty, you need to try Beautycounter. I highly suggest that you try the Countertime Anti-Aging line. That is what I use. I use the All Bright products as well, which are vitamin C, and we're coming out with a new toner soon. The serum is incredible. And then I also use on a daily basis the Flawless in 5 cosmetic set. That is just like an easy get you out the door, no makeup look. It's breathable, it's buildable, it's beautiful, and I can help you customize your colors. Just message me on Instagram or again, text me at 317-520-2320 to get in touch with me for all of your Beautycounter questions. If you're a brand new client, use code CLEANFORALL30, all one word, on my website at beautycounter.com/Stacey Heine, or you can shop the link in the show notes. Join as an advocate, join as a member, buy as a client. No matter what you do, you're moving this industry to a safer place, and we need your voice and we need you to vote with your dollars. So back to the episode, but again, reach out to me if you have questions about this business opportunity or about these products, because both can change your life. All right, back to the show. Okay, Annette, what does a typical day for you? Because to be honest, I don't think that I knew that you personally had or have Hashimoto's, and people that I love dearly have Hashimoto's. I have I have acute thyroiditis. They don't really think it's Hashimoto's, but
yeah.
My sister does have Hashimoto's, and I feel you on so many levels of the feeling of inflammation. Like, I mean, my face, like your face can just like blow up. It's just, like, where did that even come from? I ate well. I'm not that stressed. Like, where is this coming from? Digestion, motility, highly, highly rough to deal with. Lack thereof, that's for sure. How does it look like for you? What are you taking as you, just for you? I mean, what are you taking personally, supplement wise, aside from maybe what you just recommended? And then also, what does a day in the life of you eating look like?
Yeah. Okay. So, I feel like when you think of like, older people who like carry around a pill box, right? That's like me. And I'm like in my 30s, right?
No shame. We got to do what we got to do to feel good.
Yeah. But honestly, like when I take my supplements consistently, like there have been times where I'm like, oh man, I'm feeling good. You think you're cured, or, you're like, I'm good. And you stop. Right. And then it's just such a subtle change and difference. But anyway, when I do take my supplements, like when I'm on them, I just feel amazing. So that's why I take them. So the supplements that I take are the L-lysine. I do take magnesium glycinate. I take a liquid B12. And I take an iodine supplement. I just take 3 tiny little droplets, and I sometimes that's not as consistent, just because you don't want to iodine something that you don't definitely want to like overdo. So but I take it kind of intuitively when I know, like, okay, I think you need to start out taking your iodine again. And then also I take, what else do I take? I'm going to look over here. Oh, my vitamin D. I keep some of my supplements over here. I take a vitamin D, and I have my own little system with how I take that. So especially right now in the fall and winter months, because I'm not outside as often, and it gets pretty cloudy over here in the winter. So I'll take vitamin D, like 5,000 doses, twice a day for 30 days, and then I'll stop taking it. And then, and I'll kind of maybe, that's like every quarter I'll do that like regimen.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I'll take lemon balm. It's an herb. I take a liquid one. It's really good for like your liver and your gut. And I just feel like motility wise, like I'm like flowing when,
That's good to
when
know. Are you taking that via a tonic?
no. It's just a little syringe, and I just take it, and like I take their droppers, and I take that. And I do drink like lemon balm tea and whatnot as well. But I really like these tinctures when I'm not taking, like I'm not being consistent with drinking teas or whatnot. Um, but for the most part,
Is that one from Vimergy as well?
yeah, that one's from Rimergy too. That one is. And then, oh yes, selenium. So selenium, I take one capsule. And what selenium is very good for, I don't know if you've heard of or followed Isabella Wentz. She was a pharmacist. She has her degree or doctorates in pharmacy.
And she had Hashimoto's, right? So she's a pharmacist kind of turned. Now she really gives like really good advice about supplements to take instead of medications, right? So specifically for Hashimoto's, because she was so young when she got Hashimoto's. I think she was like in her early 20s, which is like, that's kind of sad for a 20-year-old, right? Because you're like, what the hell? And she was like a high functioning, 20-year-old, like she went to medical school. So for her, she started noticing all these changes in her like thinking. And then of course, like her hair was falling out. So anyway, but luckily because of her background, she just did a bunch of like research on Hashimoto's. And so she now kind of supplements medications for actual supplements that have helped, and that she really digs into the research on it. So for example, like with hair loss, like selenium is like really great, right? And then also if you have the antibodies for Hashimoto's, selenium, like one capsule a day for 60 days will really bring down your antibodies and like that. Like, she has like research papers to kind of show that. So anyway, I would highly recommend people to check out Isabella Wentz for supplements, and then also kind of look through her book, The Hashimoto's Protocol.
Love it.
And then for myself, as far as like what I eat in a day, it's honestly, it like really depends on like my day, but I always start out my day honestly with like a smoothie of some sort, or what goes in my smoothie is usually the frozen wild blueberries. The Weinmann's is my favorite, but it doesn't really matter. And then of course bananas, some kind of spinach. I like to put spirulina and the barley grass juice powder in that. Spirulina is like super rich in iron, right? Something that us thyroid ladies, like most of us are anemic. And so spirulina, if you're looking for supplementation, is a great source of iron, right? So a smoothie of some sort, or I'll just do something quick like a fruit bowl, which is nothing, sexy or fancy. It's on my feed. I always talk about that, but it's just frozen fruits, with a combination of fresh fruits on top and some like gluten-free granola and some honey. It's just really rich in carbohydrates, to be honest with you, but it's so full of goodness, and it really does kind of give me like a pump, or, I feel good afterwards. And then for lunch, it could be, normally it's really like just thrown together of some sort of like potatoes or rice. It could be like leftover veggies from the night before. I do like to do leftover stews and soups, like vegetable based, like has some kind of like lentils or beans and potatoes in there. So lunch is kind of just a hodgepodge of, things thrown together. And then dinner is like the one meal where like I sit down with my family and eat. So, like we're not 100% plant-based. So, because it's hard for my kids to, they still eat chicken. So I'll normally make something like that's modified. It's like plant-based as a base. And then we can throw on some kind of meat for the kids. But most of the time, honestly, like my kids aren't that picky. They will like eat a lot of the stews and soups, except for the 4-year-old. He's always like, his favorite thing right now is like, he hates everything. And I'm like, okay, never mind. It's really challenging with that.
Yeah. My toddler's like, there's not enough raisins in my oatmeal. And like, he does it every morning. And my husband's like, we put raisins in there. Like, he's just like, there are a lot. And I'm just like over it. I'm like, Cohen, you came home from Montessori one day and said, you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. So that's the motto. And we keep sticking to it, but like, he is being a picky pants lately. And we put more raisins in it. And he's just like,
there's not enough raisins. And I'm like, oh, come on. Come on.
They're like that right now. How old is he? Oh
He's
yeah,
4.5. He's driving me
they're like,
nuts.
they can never have too many. They just want like all of it, and then be like, oh, then there's too many. Probably that's what it turned into.
I know.
But yeah, so pretty much,
Oh my
yeah,
gosh,
my day is mostly plant based, or I normally eat plant based. Like meat is only like if I don't know, I'm put in a situation where it's just like, all right, it's gonna be chicken, but I don't really have a choice. But for the most part, it's mostly plants in my daily lifestyle.
Love it. Love it. Okay. So you were talking about Isabella and how she was diagnosed with Hashimoto's super early. Annette, what do you think is causing this major influx of thyroid issues?
Yeah, honestly, I can't. It really comes down to like our diet, right? It really is triggered from like the liver, and so a high fat diet is really going to put, and also it's not just that. There's like it's like a two-part equation. So what I really what I'm seeing is that there's just a trend in just us eating, fast food, convenience foods, which are naturally high in fat. Of course, like this push for, oh, you need protein. And most of us, when we think of protein, we think of meat. Like that's just the equivalent. Like you're like, oh, protein, meat. We need to eat more meat. And so, but it's just, it's a burden on our liver. So then when the liver is like sluggish, stagnant, and, it's getting backed up because of a high fat diet, then it's like, that's where our thyroid hormones are converted. So immediately your thyroid is, liver and thyroid are gonna, it goes wonky. And then the second part to that is a lot of us, we live in a highly industrial society, which I think we kind of forget, like the time that we're living in. And so we're exposed to a lot of toxins, right? And then also they're in our products. It's in our food, right? If we're eating a lot of processed foods or whatever. And so, you're adding toxins to the mix on top of that with our liver. And so it's really causing, first you get like the hypo or hyperthyroidism, but on top of that, we have like these viruses that are also living within us. I mean, we all have viruses on us on some kind of level, right? But whether they're in check or not, because, just really depends on the health of the human being, on the individual, right? So if you have a weak immune system, you're giving it opportunity to be triggered on, and then you can, launch, an autoimmune condition. Just, we all have daily stressors, and we're all walking around with, there's trauma that's happening, around us. And so it gets exacerbated, and you're giving it an opportunity for some kind of autoimmune condition like Hashimoto's to be triggered. But in general, I think we're seeing an influx of thyroid disease in general because of, our diet and our lifestyle and the exposure to toxins. And so this is why I think we're seeing a lot of like non-toxic products, whether it's in beauty or cleaning supplies, right? And then also a shift to more plant-based eating, because I think the consumer really wants to get control of what's in their food, and knowing that they have control of, what's being put in there. So they want to try to eat more whole foods, plant-based, but it's kind of like we have to get back to learning how to cook again, and like adjusting our taste buds, because I know some people are just like, oh, this doesn't taste good. But anyway, it's just kind of that reconnection in the kitchen too. So.
Yeah, I love that. So are you recommending for your clients, and also just kind of going back to like the trauma that you said, like we even read that, autoimmune issues can be caused or, exacerbated from like past trauma in your childhood and all that stuff. So it just is like this culmination of stress in so many facets that like you're just saying, like the human body, we just like cannot handle it. So it's just like, F you, we're going to go ahead and rebel, and, and now you need to really pay attention to what you're doing, what you're putting in, what you're putting on, what you're breathing, like all the things.
Absolutely.
So it's been a big wake up call for me. That's for sure. Having acute thyroiditis, not necessarily Hashimoto's, which is so interesting. So I'm still working on that. Okay. So let's wrap this up, Annette. Let's wrap it up into a little package. What are your top 3 tips? I mean, you've already said, we need to reduce the fat. You've already said that multiple times. So we need to reduce the fat in our diet, right? And then we need to make sure our environment is optimal and proper supplementation. Are there any other things that you want to make sure that people out there who are struggling with thyroid issues in some fashion know?
Yeah. So, I mean, if I had to give like maybe like 1 or 2 tips, like you were saying, like top 3, and then also some like where to start or like where to begin, right? I really do feel it starts with, like our diet for sure, because then as like we start changing that, like your body is so receptive. If you just begin to eat the foods that we are designed to eat, and our organ, the liver, is designed to handle, then it becomes very responsive, right? Like you can start mitigating that, right? So, or like turning the ship around is what I'm trying to say. So start there. And when I say like, it's the fat, then, starting your day out with fruits, right? That's like the first thing I go over with my clients is starting your day out with fruits. And it doesn't have to be like, oh, banana and an apple. You can change it up. There's acai bowls, there's smoothie bowls. There's starting your day out with fruits. And then also, so stress is like the biggest like trigger that turns it on. So I think like doing some kind of practice, right? I think we all make excuses for meditation or going for a walk or yoga. And I get it. Like we're so busy. I totally understand that. I have 3 kids. I have like a business. And so even for myself, like I think like that is like one of the hardest struggles, because I feel like I'm trying to get ahead. But when I learn, or when I know that, okay, if I just acknowledge and put myself first and do these self-care activities that I know are important, things just fall into place naturally. I just feel like a door opens up or something. So I want to say like really practicing, or getting into the habit of practicing some kind of stress alleviation, whether it's meditation, whether it's just like there you can download an app like a Insight Timer, and they have like the 5-minute, 3-minute breathing exercises. Like that even makes a big difference. You can even feel it like a shift in your brain. So, and the science behind like breath exercises is like crazy. It's amazing. So I would just really like that's like my biggest advice is really fixing or starting with your diet, and then also the stress part with self-care. I just think like we're being pushed to do too much. And I only see it getting worse.
Hustle culture.
Yeah, it's our culture.
Culture. It's crazy. Hustle culture needs to stop. That's something that I just was teaching my society members, and whoo boy, it's not the cool thing to do. Like it's just not, and we have to prioritize ourselves first. It's like the number one thing that we need to do. So that we can like not crash and burn.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So Annette, I have one more question, and it is what I ask everybody. What does holistic living mean to you?
Ooh. Okay. Holistic living to me means living from a point of where it's as natural as possible, right? Like, and whatever that means for the individual, because not everybody has access to these tools, right? So for me, it's like instead of when you're getting sick, running to the doctor or calling a doctor, like that's the kind of the culture I grew up in. It's just like, oh, mija needs to go to the doctor. Mija needs medicine, because we're Mexican American. And so it's just like when you're sick, they're like, oh, what medicine are you taking? And it's like, okay, let's not reach for like the medicine cabinet. So holistic living to me is like using, natural resources to improve your health, and trying to get back to natural remedies for your daily lifestyle and living, right? And that includes eating, also supplementation, and then also like herbal medication, or herbal, or taking herbal supplements to help heal anything that's going on. And then of course, if it gets worse, then that's where it's like, okay, Western medicine can't help. You know, you don't have to suffer. Like I don't push my clients into that. So holistic living to me is just really kind of getting back to our natural resources, because we all have them. And we're all like online looking for the answers, you know, like Googling how to do this, how to do that. But honestly, you have the answers within. Like if you could just go silent and ask yourself, like, what do I need? Like quietly close your eyes and ask yourself that question. And, you know, you'll get a response. Like, I know it sounds woo woo, but you have the answer. Intuitively, your body knows, and you know as well. But I think we're just kind of conditioned to kind of ask somebody else or give the power away, but you have that power within.
That's so powerful, Annette. Oh my God, I love it. Okay. Well, my friend, where can we find you, and anything that you want to share in terms of links and stuff like that? We'll put that all in the show notes, but if there's anywhere in particular that you want us to follow you, let us know that right now.
Yeah. I'm mostly on Instagram at thyroid.gut.rd. And it's the same handle on TikTok if you want to find me there. And my website though is healthygut.co. Like, what is it? Yeah, healthygut.co. And so, but I'm very active on Instagram. That's where, you know, you can slide into my DMs. I'm very social. I love engaging with my community there. So you can take a look at me there.
Awesome. We'll be sure to link all of that. My friend, thank you so much for your time. And I will see you over on Instagram, because that's where we hang out together.
Yeah, absolutely.
So. All right. Have a great day. Be well.
Bye.
I'm over here cheering you on because you just finished another episode of The Urban Pharmacy. For today's show notes, head on over to theurbanpharmacy.com and be sure to join us inside our private Facebook group called The Urban Pharmacy, where we share inspiration, live trainings, and holistic living tips to help you build community and the healthy lifestyle that you've always wanted. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you hit that subscribe button and please consider leaving us a 5-star review. Before we connect again on the next show, follow me on Instagram at The Urban Pharmacy. That's urban with an H and pharmacy with an F. And I can't wait to hear your wellness journey as we get to know each other better. You know, there's truly no better time than now to level up your life, and I am so proud of you for showing up today. Until next time, be well, Health Crusader.